So what is up, people on the interwebs? I hope you're having a great day. And before we begin, we need to get some spooky ambience in this video. And today we're going to talk about the London Underground, since there's got to be some spooky haunted things going on there, since the London Underground is one of the oldest kind of train systems in the country, and I think particularly in the world. So the London Underground is over 150 years old, since they recently celebrated it a few years ago. There's some haunted stories and tales, so let's jump right into it. So if you guys don't know what the London Underground is, it's basically the tube system in London, and it's just loads of trains that are underground, hence the name Underground. And it's just a different form of transport you can do in London. And some of these tube stops are haunted. And my first one I'm going to do is London King's Cross. London King's Cross is one of the main kind of biggest tube stops in London. It's right next to London St Pancras, where you can get the Eurostar to France and different places in Europe. But London King's Cross is kind of the main ground of the London kind of underground. You can probably get majority of all the lines wherever you want to go in London. If you're at that stop, you can practically get anywhere. And this is one of the tube stops I know the most, since when I was at university. If I wanted to go to London, this was the tube stop I would get into when I got off my train from my university into London. And apparently this tube stop is haunted, and it's haunted by a person called the Crying Lady. And the Crying Lady is meant to be a fairly modern woman, dressed in fairly modish clothes. She has long brown hair and is said to haunt a particular spot in London's King's Cross. And the annoying thing, I wanted to find out which particular spot she haunts, but I couldn't find anywhere where it just said in King's Cross overall, which is kind of annoying, since if any of you have ever been to King's Cross is one of the biggest tube stops. There's so many corridors, tubes, lines. There's this place is huge, so it could be any particular spot, but I have no idea where in King's Cross. Somewhere in King's Cross, but from the research I found, it was kind of particularly somewhere underground waiting for the train, since a lot of the stories of where a person has allegedly seen the ghost is while waiting at a particular stop waiting for the train to come. And how people know if you've seen the crying ghost lady is she'll be either at the stop completely crying, wailing her arms everywhere, in tears, screaming, and people will come to help her, and the second a person comes to help her, then that is it. She has disappeared, vanished into thin air. And apparently people have seen it always happens in the same spot in King's Cross, but alas, I don't know where exactly in King's Cross, since the research I found was not giving away the information of where the alleged spot was. And the apparent reason why there is a ghost haunting King's Cross is because in 1987 there was a famous fire at King's Cross, and it says this person who is the ghost was allegedly burned into the fire, hence which could explain why she's kind of wailing and screaming as she's in pain of being burnt alive. But that is our first ghost, the Crying Lady from King's Cross. And then the second ghost we're going to talk about is from Bank Station, which is called the Black Nun. The Black Nun has been reported as early as the 19th century, and it's been said if you see the ghost wandering aimlessly around the corridors, she brings the presence of a kind of eerie sadness. And there has also been claims of witness smelling foul wrenching odours, potentially the smell of death. And there's also been said to hear blood-curdling screams down these corridors. The reason why this ghost may be here and the foul odours is, one, the ghost is claimed to be the sister of a man who got beheaded near Bank Station. and she is trying to find him, and the foul smells could be due to, as England, especially London, is such an old country, there's so much history, and in the 17th century London had a massive outbreak of the Black Plague, and a lot of the underground stations are kind of built upon mass burial grounds of kind of victims who fell fatal from the Black Plague, hence why there could be foul smells, as it is the corpse of the people who perished in the Black Plague. And finally, our third ghost is from Bethnal Green station, and it's based around the Blitz victims from World War II. During World War II, London got bombed pretty bad from air raids, and a way for Londoners to stay safe and not be killed by any bombs falling from the sky, they would go hide in the underground. And if you're in London and you heard the sirens, that was a sound to mean you gotta move and get to somewhere safe, either a bunker or the underground. And tragically, 178 people got killed during an air raid test. So if you did hear the sounds of a siren, that indicated you need to get to the underground fast. And they were testing the system out, and a lot of the general public thought this was a real bombing that was going to happen, so everyone panicked and ran to the underground. Sadly, during this period of mass panic, 178 people got trampled and killed as people were trying to run to the underground for safety. And it has been said today that you will hear blood-curdling screams from this station due to the victims being trampled as people was running in panic and fear for their lives. But anyway guys, that's been my 3 spooky stories of London Underground. Let's kind of remove the spooky ambience and get some kind of more upbeat music back on. But anyway guys, that's kind of been my 3 haunted ghost stories from London Underground. And also, if you have any ideas of what kind of spooky stories you want to hear in a video, I'll do some research and make it. So let me know in the comments below. Also guys, keep being amazing, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!